Here's a little comical but sad story of something my uncle told me when he worked in the mine back in the 30s. I'm the only guy I ever know that got disabled in the mine. Not from no rock fall, not from no mining accident, not from no black hole. So I'll try to recreate this story the best I can. There's so many stories in these Appalachian mountains of all kinds, forgotten in time. And some of them are from the old coal miners that worked these mountains. And we'll go back to the simpler days of coal mining, back when it was hard work, back in the 30s. This is an old story just told to me from my uncle. Now this little old story comes from a little old mine. It's a small mines. It wasn't a big major operations. Probably a couple dozen men worked here on 2 different shifts. And they were a tight-knit group. It didn't matter what color you was. If you had a strong back and you were willing to work for a living, they put you to work. And they all depended on each other. And their tractors and their power of the day was an old team of mules or horses. That done the heavy work in these mines up till electricity took their place. And they done stuff like this all day, day in and day out. These old mules and horses pulling these loads of coal out of these mines. And without them, sometimes they break down or the mules, something happened to it, they have to push these old cars out. A man can't stand that very long, so their livelihood was dependent on these animals. And they took care of it. And they come home most of the time, just walk out of the mines, walk into work, walk out of work, and just across the hill is where they lived, most of them. Within a mile of the mines, they'd walk to and from to work every day. But little camps like this, not much at all, just a roof over your head. Some of them had big families, and they struggled. It was hard times for $1 a day back in them days. And a lot of times during the Depression, they had so much coal on the ground they couldn't sell it, so from one day to another, they didn't know if they had any work. They'd show up for work and see stuff like this on the sign on the checkout board. And these old young boys, they had strong backs. But as time went on, it finally, these coal mining will break you down, I'll tell you. And a lot of them done stuff like this for extra money. This is how they made their extra money back in them days up these old hollers, old steel. And they just sold it to friends, people they know, and for themselves. This is where old Mountain Jack come from. This was his name at first. He was good with mules and horses. Well, he worked the horses and mules, pulling this coal in. He was good with these old mules. Of course, these old mules and horses, they done most of the work, most of the thinking. They know what to do. Wasn't much to it, just guiding them, taking care of them. They'd pull these big old loads out of these coals, out of these mines. Day in and day out. And old Mountain Jack, he'd take these cars in the morning, he'd back them up these entries where they work in these places at the face so the men could load them up. And then he'd come back in the afternoon or a couple hours later and pull that car out and change them out. Here they're waiting on a car up here backed up so they can load it. In most places in them days, you didn't load no car, you didn't get no pay. And they worked some hazardous conditions in these old mines too. You can see places like this, top trying to set down. They set a lot of timber. They'd start loading these cars when old Jack got one backed up to them in these entries. Fast as they could load them. Sometimes they'd load 3, 4, 5 cars a day. And old Jack would get that car when they loaded. He'd take it down on the main, hook it to some more cars, and they'd pull them out. Pull them outside. And they'd have to unhitch them, pull them around. Like I said, it was a small mine. And they'd have to pull and dump them over the tipple there or into an old truck to go down to the main tipple. And he hurt his back, strained his back one day. It was bothering him pretty bad. So it was getting about lunchtime, and old Jack had him an old bottle or jug hid in behind an old slate pile in the mine. While everybody else was eating dinner, old Jack just poured his water out, poured him some shine in the bottom of it, and started sipping on it. Maybe that would ease his pain so he wouldn't have to go home. He'd just sip a little bit here and there. Well, after dinner, the old guys was needing the car backed up in here so they could load it. They kept waiting, waiting. And old Jack would finally show up, bring them a car up into the place where they could start loading. They load block coal, loose coal, whatever they demanded at the time. But old Jack, he kept loading these cars. Well, he got to where he sipped a little more and a little more, and he backed up his car into a dead entry. Staggered around there and pulled the switch where old Mule could back it up into an entry there for him. But he backed it up into a dead entry. There wasn't nobody there. They wasn't working that place. Well, he was waiting for him to unhook the car. He was pretty well lit by then. So he kind of just slumped over and went to sleep on the head of that old car. When he did, he just kept sitting there, and that old Mule was tired working all day too. Old Jack laying there sleeping. Well, the old Mule got bored, and he just sat down. Well, he sat down old Jack's leg. Now, that got old Jack up quick. Sat right down on his leg and broke his leg. Well, he finally got that old Mule up off of him and headed outside, got that old Mule to take him outside. The old boys, that's how he got his name, Mule Jack, out of that. Well, they got him outside. The old boys was sitting there waiting for the next shift late in the evening, got him off that car, and they got him off the mountain to the doctor there and fixed his leg. Well, sad to say that would end his mining career. No, he wasn't crippled the rest of his life, but he couldn't walk real good, so he couldn't work in the mines anymore. They was gonna fire him anyway for drinking. But that's a funny story about that. He went from Mountain Jack to Old Mule Jack. So that's what they called him, my uncle said. Old Mule Jack. Everybody loved him though. But he survived. Yeah, I guess he kept making shine and surviving. Back in them days, there wasn't no check or nothing. You either make it or you just done without, or you just died. Because that's the way it was back in these old mountains. But times has changed. The old mines, they went from the old mules, they started phasing out. They got electricity up that mountain, and they started using old motors and stuff like this. So that's just there's so many old stories these old miners could tell me. And I love to listen to these old stories. These are forgotten in time. And I'm sure you old coal miners out there know a lot of old funny stories. A lot of sad stories too. So I hope you enjoy these little old forgotten stories of the Appalachians, especially the coal fields. So I want to thank you for watching. God bless. And I'll see you next time.